being great, you're gonna make mistakes. But when your voice is heard, there's a clean slate. Keep the faith, don't hesitate, somebody's here to listen. With every conversation, there's a new beginning. New horizons all rising, better days are near. Share your truth, have no fear, let me lend an ear. Lonely days are gone, and you're not alone. Healing begins with being heard, so this is your song.
All the tears, you are here and listening to my life, to my story, my pain. Yeah, I'll be brave, overcoming the struggles in my life, and I'll be the one to show you the way. You will hear my story, hearts are all the same. You will hear my story, hearts are all the same. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today on Dr. Kyri Listen. I am Dr. Kyri Mosley, and I am your host. First, I want to thank Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Miss Kelsey Huntley, and Kelsey is an author and a speaker. So many people have been asking me, why now? Why, Dr. Kyri? Why have you decided to do your talk show now? And I must say that honestly, I'm my best version of myself at this time in my life, my health, my wellness, my spirituality, mentally. I'm just in a space where I want to be able to give back in this way. A lot of times, so many people right now are in a space where they just need someone to listen to them. They don't need someone to fix them. That's not what we're doing, but we're hoping to be able to provide some guidance that will aid in everyone's healing. Okay, so let's get started today. So Kelsey, what made you decide to join the show today?
Yes, so I have a really good friend, and she is Dr. Kyri's daughter. And she reached out to me. She knew my story and pretty much was like, I think you should be on the show. And so without a doubt, I said yes. Mm-hmm. And I've been in this space in my life where I really want to share my story. Mm-hmm. I want to give others a voice that haven't had a voice. And so this was a perfect opportunity. When we spoke on the phone, it was just amazing. It was like kindred spirits.
Thank you.
So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, I want to say hello. Hello, Birdie. Did you hear your song, Bertrand? Did you hear that? So proud of you. So Bertrand and Aaliyah Camila have done my opening song, so I hope you enjoyed it. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Pat. Hello, Mary. So great to see everyone. Hello, Marie. Thank you. Thank you. Well, before we even get into your story, yes, what I would like to know is, at the end of this, what is your hope? What is your desire that people will take away from your story?
I really want people to take away a feeling of feeling lighter, for one. Not taking away that you want to feel sorry for me or anyone that has gone through any similar type of situation. But I want you to take away that we are survivors, that we have a strong will to live and to be more and to expect more of life. So I want you to say to yourself, I want to be more, and I want to share my voice with the world, and I want to tell my truth. So I want to encourage you to tell your truth and to not hold it back.
Amen. Hello, Grace. Hello, Samantha. Hello. So guys, I want to say hello to everyone. I want to thank you right now for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Sam. How are you? So one of the things that I did was very intentional, very deliberate, is that I did not ask Kelsey what her story was. And so this is going to be my first time getting a chance to hear your story. I wanted to just be present for you. And so I'm going to give the floor to you.
So let's rewind. My name is Kelsey Huntley. I am an author, a speaker. but I also am a survivor. Let's rewind back to growing up. I am a pastor's kid. PK, grew up in church, experienced a lot in church. Growing up wasn't very easy. I've experienced a lot of abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, and it really did a number on my mental growing up. It's funny because a lot of memories that I have are not very clear. I suppressed a lot of memories due to a lot of suppression. And I remember when you were talking on your live the other day about survival's guilt.
Yes.
And then you were talking about how people don't really bring up those memories because it's like a protection.
That's correct.
And so I've done that a whole lot in my life. So a lot of memories, while we're talking, I may be triggered and I may remember something, but a lot of memories, I suppressed it. So let's go back to the beginning. I don't want to be all over the place, but let's go back to the beginning. Pastor's kid, grew up in church, played the drums. My sisters would sung. We were very instrumental in church growing up. And our life was not very easy. We always had, it was a strict household, let's just say the least. It was very strict. My parents wouldn't let us go outside with friends, couldn't really come over. And so it was hard for us to really have an outside life. So felt like bars were on the window. So started doing different things, sneaking out the house and different things like that. So I feel like that led to a lot of other things of my parents being very strict. I was also adopted. I don't really talk about this a lot. Being adopted, it was very hard because I feel like a lot of pieces were missing in my life. And very early, I felt like I didn't fit in. Very early, I felt like I didn't look like the people that I was around. And I always had this isolation, and I would isolate myself. I would always be in my room. I wouldn't really speak to my family. My family now, like back then, they would always say, I'm always the quiet one because I was very secluded. I was always in my room. And so I carried that on my shoulder for a long time of like, these people don't look like me. And so I was adopted. Moving forward, I started to be sexually abused by my father. That was a struggle for me because I feel like it was something I had to keep. I had a responsibility to keep that. I really didn't tell a lot of people. A lot of people didn't really know. And so I carried this on my back for a long time. And so I feel like that was a struggle that I had to carry for a long time. Being adopted, these were the only people that I knew. And so being sexually abused, that was something very hard for me. And then being a pastor's kid was something on top of that. So it was thing after thing after thing. And so it was a lot of trauma that I dealt with on top of other things. So that's just kind of a surface of me. I don't want to get too deep, but
honestly, this is your time. And I don't want you to ever feel like you are not able to speak about whatever you want to say. I'm not, I've given a disclaimer for my show because I want people to know that you don't know what you're going to hear when you come here. And it's all about what you're comfortable in sharing. What ages? Like, when did you get adopted?
So I assume that it was very young. Being that I don't have I try to do a lot of research and I don't have a birth certificate, an original birth certificate. So I assume it was very young. I don't have any baby pictures. So I assumed it was 2 or 3 years old.
And I asked because I also adopted my son.
Really?
I did. When he was 4 months old.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
wow.
And he's my heart. He's everything to me. So yeah, it's good to hear your experiences because I know that that's something, no matter how good things are or things not good, that's just something you're always going to be, working through. And so that's something that keeps me real sensitive, even to my son, asking questions. And I'm really excited about just helping him to research and find more because I know that it's important. It is a part of your identity.
Yeah, it is. I feel like identity, when you said the word identity, I didn't have an identity for a really long time because that identified me.
Right.
Family. I have to look like you. And I felt like I was detached from the word family for a really long time. And now, I have people that are in my life that say, you're my daughter, you're my sister. But it's not the same as knowing somebody that has your own blood that looks like you. And I struggled with that for a really long time, with identity.
I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Because even though I was not actually adopted, there was a dynamics in my family that existed growing up where I didn't look like my siblings and I didn't look like my mom. And so they would always say, you're adopted. And to be honest, I wasn't treated like I was a part of the family.
Wow.
And so I can understand that. I'm very, very grateful that I have friends that are really my sisters. They are my sister friends.
Yeah.
And that allows me to experience what I feel like I didn't get to experience growing up. And I was very fortunate. I have two members of my family, my grandmother and my mother, my grandmother and my auntie. They loved me, and they're both gone now. And so that's really hard for me because sometimes I just feel very detached. And so I can understand like the people who actually made you feel like, you could do anything. They're not here anymore. So it's really, really hard. So I understand that.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the abuse that took place, do you remember like how old you were and those kinds of things?
So I actually have it's like a defining memory in my mind. And I don't know if that was like the earliest that it happened, but it's like a memory that sticks out in my brain. And I talk about it in my book. It was the hurricane that happened in Florida. I think it was like 2004. And I believe I was like 10, 12 years old. And I remember my father, he told me so let me give you a backstory. The hurricanes happened, and if you know back then, it was a big hurricane, Hurricane Charlie, and it lasted for like a week. It was really big. And so our house was damaged, and I had all sisters. And so no brothers. So my dad, we had to fix the house. And so there was mold and mildew. And so we had to tear open the walls and stuff like that. So we would take turns going to the house. And so this particular night, it was my night to go to the house. And so I went along with my dad. And I remember it was like an empty closet and it had no walls in it. It had the insulin in the walls. I remember it so vividly, like every time I tell the story. And I remember he told me to get in the closet and just take off my pants and just lay down. And I was just like confused, like, okay, but when you're young, you don't really know. And so I'm like, okay, this is my dad, so I did what he said. And so when I went in the closet and I laid down, was taking off my pants, and he was about to lay on top of me, he was caressing my legs. And then all of a sudden he stopped and he said, get up, put your pants up. And he was like, don't ever let a man do that to you. Don't ever let a man disrespect you. And that was the first time that he had, in my mind, that he had did it. But in my mind, I was like, it's never going to happen again. And that's not what happened. It kept happening after that moment. But that was the first moment in my mind that defined the moment of being sexually abused.
Did you ever have the opportunity to speak with your mom about it? Or?
Plenty of times. Well, here's the thing. My mom, she was very, and I don't know what she was going through in that time, but she was very verbally abusive, physically abusive. And so I could not run to her and tell her, like, it felt, when you feel comfortable, like, let's say I'm talking to you and I feel safe to just share with you. I didn't feel that with my mom. It was always like strict and do your homework and clean, and it was always that. It was never like a motherly love that I can just come and be. Yes. So for a long time, for a long time, yeah, me and my mom, we never really had a relationship. It was just very strict. So I never felt comfortable in even telling her.
Right.
But there were instances where she did know. And they say a mother's tuition, she always knows. She always knows if something's happening in her home. Right. She always knows if her husband's doing something. Right. You know what I mean? So true. There were so many instances where I knew that she knew that something was happening.
And was it ever confirmed that she knew, like you ever have a conversation with her?
So I tell this story as well in my, I think it's in my book, but in high school, I used to have this friend, we were really close, and she had like this good relationship with God, and I just really was drawn to her because of her positivity, and I was just going through a lot. But there was a moment in school where we were writing back and forth in a notebook, and that's kind of that was kind of how we had our little
talking out loud. We would just write in like a composition book.
And I was a writer, so that's how I got out my emotions, was through writing. So we would just write back and forth and pass the notebook back and forth. And so I would be telling her everything. And one day the notebook got lost because I asked her, I was like, we were passing it back and forth, and I thought she left it at home. And I was like in one of my periods of my in school, they came to my class and called me to the office. And I was like, I didn't do nothing wrong. When you get called to the office,
just trying to figure out what you did do.
Yes, you be trying to figure out, like, did I do something wrong? But when I got to the office, there was a guidance counselor sitting in this room, and she had the notebook on her table. I was freaking out.
Of course.
I was freaking out. I'm like, did she read this? Does she know? And so she pulled me in the office, and she was like, it was like time stood still. She said, do you know we have to call your mother? Well, first of all, she's like, is this yours? And I couldn't lie, because obviously it was mine. And I said yes. And she was like, do you know we have to call your mom? And she was like, we also have to call the authorities.
Yes.
And at the time I was 18 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, my heart dropped to like the bottom of my belly. If that could happen, it happened that day. And I was freaking out because I didn't want her to find out. I did not want her to find, not that way.
Right.
Not that way. So they called her in. She came in. There was 2 police officers right there. And it was the worst day of my life.
Wow.
The worst day of my life. They pulled my mom in the office. She was by herself. And I don't know what they told her. Still to this day, I don't know what they told her. And when they opened the door, they told me to come in. She had tears in her eyes. And she asked me, she was like, is this real? And I was like, yes. And she was like, is this a fairy tale? I was like, no. She was like, is this a fantasy? I said, no.
Wow.
She was crying, tears in her eyes. And so, there's some discrepancy with people from this issue, but the police said, do you want to press charges? And I said, no. But there's a reason to that. But moving forward, I'll explain that later.
That's okay.
But but my mom found out is the backstory of all of that.
Right.
And once we left the school, she acted as if that information was never told to her. Like she never found out. But she knew.
So from that point, she just remained silent about what just transpired at school.
She knew. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so sorry. My goodness, when I tell you, you talked about you and your mom's relationship, it reminded me of me and my mother's relationship. And we never had a close relationship where we could be friends. But I always made this effort to just love my mom. She's been through a lot of things. And I think growing up, it made me reflect on our relationship. And I didn't so much take it as, oh, woe is me. That's just not who we are, right? We have this information, these things that happen to us, and we try to work through it.
Yeah.
But even now, we don't have this amazing relationship, but I love her. And I walk in every day of forgiveness, right? Because she was very verbally and physically abusive. So,
wow.
But most people knew,
Yeah.
Most people knew, but I too had the opportunity to have her arrested. One time she beat me to the point where I had to go to the hospital and my head was busted open. And I remember the officer asking me, do you want us to put your mom in jail?
Wow.
That was what they said. And I said no. But I said no, not for a good reason. I wanted my Easter shoes. So I said no, because I thought I'm not going to have Easter shoes if I, say yes. And so this show, Kelsey, it's amazing. Like, I chose it because I wanted it to be a space where I could finally talk freely, right? And not just be in a counselor mode where you're not able to share your life, because I believe it's reciprocal. Healing, right? That's the kind of, you don't have to be in this space or posture of not being able to understand.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand. Yeah. My goodness. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to think about is who or what has been your biggest source of support?
Huge. Definitely my community, for sure. You're nothing without the support of your community.
That's right.
And honestly, I feel like every step of the way, like for me, leaving that situation all the way up until now, there has been key players.
Yes.
And I always say God has led every step of my path. Like every single, like if you hear how I left home all the way up until now, you'll be like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like,
he has a way of orchestrating my steps and making sure we're in contact with the right people.
Oh, yes. So I definitely believe my community and God has definitely been a huge backing in helping me heal and helping me take the steps that are needed to even come. Because, when you're out of a situation, you still have to deal with the situation. There's still residue, there's still trauma, there's still all of those things. Even though you're out of it, you still gotta deal with X, Y, and Z. And so I still had to go through the process of healing coming out of that. So my community definitely helped.
And I definitely agree with you, because even though we've gone through our journeys and we're still in our healing journey, like that's something that I realized that, okay, I forgive, I move on, but it's always the remnant, right? It's always the remnant of what transpired. And as you talked about earlier, triggers, right? So someone could say something in a certain way, someone could even touch you in a certain way, and it could bring back memories of what transpired. And I just can say for myself, I have learned to use my voice and express how something makes me feel.
So
in the moment. I am in the moment woman. I do not like to stuff things, and I try my best to never be, aggressive in my delivery, but I need to let you know how that made me feel. And it has helped me so much to not withdraw and to continue to give, so I'm really practicing that. I think that's a daily thing for me.
It is.
Because a lot of people say, well, aren't you over it? No, I don't think for the rest of my days that you get to be over it, because it's so much, it's invasive. The violation, the trauma was invasive. And so for myself, I keep dealing with it daily,
Yeah.
So I know that that's something most of us who want to continue to be better, we deal with it instead of stuffing it.
For sure.
So if you can think of if someone else is in that same situation, how do you think they can help someone else? Like if they know someone who went through it, is going through it, how can they support them?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like you just have to be present. Sometimes we feel like we need to tell people what to do and how to navigate.
Yes.
And I feel like everybody has their own process.
That's right.
And it's God who gives you the navigation through that process. Of course, there's key players that are the ones that speak life into you and give you that direction. But ultimately, the choice is up to that person.
That's right.
To take it and to use it, because we're all given tools in our tool belt.
And our tool belt, that's
right.
right.
And it's up to you to pull them out and use it in that time when it's needed. So I feel like if you're just there, be that ear, be that prayer partner, show up for them as much as you can to guide them through that, because there's going to be some dark days. There's going to be some lonely nights.
That's right.
There's going to be some days where you're depressed, where you have a lot of fear, anxiety.
Sadness,
it's going to be all of that. But as long as you have somebody in your corner, that's all you need.
Man.
Yeah.
So before we continue with the next part of our show, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of commercials and then we'll come back. So we'll be right back. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Benita Hunter, owner and maker of Forever Treasures, where I take your sentimental items, your cherished baby clothes, and I turn them into forever keepsakes. We can use uniforms, wedding gowns, baby clothes, or any other sentimental item of a loved one who may have passed on. Now here's where you come in. Go and find your sentimental items, send them to me. I turn them into a forever keepsake, keeping memories alive. I can be reached at bhforevertreasures.com, or you can call me directly at 443-995-9655. Let's make it happen and keep memories alive.
Prepared, crafted, and baked with love. A taste so delectable, like they were sent from heaven above. With every bite, a soothing warmth settles and abides. It feels like a hug on the inside. Kyri's cookies explode with flavorful taste no one can duplicate. Joy permeates the soul with every bite, creating a tasty intimacy to savor a merry delight. A sprinkle of joy, a pinch of happiness, a dash of faith, a cup of compassion and happiness are ingredients that give Kyri's cookies bona fide uniqueness. Kyri's cookies make my heart sing, packaged with a royal presentation fit for a king. Kyri's cookies, a tasty treat that are simply a pleasure to eat.
Hello. Welcome back. So first of all, okay, I am Kyri of Kyri's Cookies. I know I didn't even mention that, right? But that commercial's from 2 years ago. And you see here, this is my keepsake bear. See his little, see him? He's so cute. And she's so cute. So I named her Brenda. And I named her Brenda after my auntie Brenda, who is no longer here. And yesterday was the anniversary of her passing. And so Brenda is right on time. This is one of the keepsake bears from Forever Treasures, and she's gorgeous. And, this is an opportunity for you to make memories, right? So you create a keepsake bear that has clothing that they wore or colors that were important to them. Or you make a keepsake bear just from when your children were little. You get their little baby clothes together and give them over to Miss Bonita, and she'll make a beautiful bear of their favorite outfit. So we're going to get back to our story now. We're going to We're back here with Kelsey. Kelsey, you're doing an amazing job. And I just thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. So I don't know, have I missed any questions? Because I know I don't do a very good job of watching the screen and everything like that. Yes, indeed. So when you think about your future, let's talk about your future. What are your plans? What do you envision for your future?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I'm letting God take the lead. It's been bumpy. It's been a lot of transition. It's been a lot of coming out of something and going into something else. But I feel like now I'm in a place of really saying, God, whatever you want to do.
Yes. My goodness, Kelsey, I don't know what's going on with our lives and how they have parallels. Yeah. But I am definitely in that space of being in a space where I'm choosing myself, because that is not a strength of mine. I love to pour into other people. It was not my strength. Wow. But I went away to Bali, and I really had a time of reflection and just thinking about my life and all that it has entailed. And this, Dr. Kyri Listens is really just a space. I feel it's my sweet spot. Like, I get a chance to listen to people and help them, and I'm at peace. Like, I have Kyri's cookies, and my goodness, things are so challenging for us right now. And I finally, in the last couple of days, got to a space of whatever you want, God, whatever you want, whatever you need me to do. And being at a place of peace when it's regarding that, because I worry about this person, that person. I said, Kyri, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself and listen to God and allow Him to guide you in your decisions. So I'm at peace. And I'm very excited about this new chapter in my life and getting able to just learn so much about other people. Yes. I feel like it's where I find my strength.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So what are some strengths that you've noticed about yourself that you didn't know you had?
Well, one thing you said resonated with me about putting yourself first. And for a long time, I struggled with that. That was a hard struggle for me. Just coming out of the background that I've had and carrying what I've carried for a long time, I never put myself first. I always thought about other people around me versus Kelsey, you need to survive, you need to heal. And so I feel like my strength now is thinking about Kelsey and what does Kelsey need, and what does Kelsey want? Yes. And what does Kelsey's life look like 10 years down the line? Yep. 5 years down, like 3 months. Yeah. 2 months. I'm like, I've gotten so much better at looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah. Being present in my own life. I am the one who misses the victories, right? I miss them. I'm so wound up in everything that's going on that I can't even get excited about all the victories that have transpired in my life, I'm like, I'm so grateful every visit that I'm cancer free. And so I'm enjoying that I'm cancer free, right? I'm so grateful, so grateful. When I think of my overall health and well-being, say, wow, God, look at me 2 years ago to now. Like, I'm so much more focused on my healing, my body, my mind, my spirit, and if someone or something is against my energy, I depart, because my energy, my vibration, that is important. Yeah. And, I have to think about those kinds of things. Yeah. I love that. Well, I feel like the same thing for me. I feel like one of my strengths are definitely making sure that I'm first, but then also making sure that I make sure that I have what I need in the times that I need it. But another strength I found is leaning and depending on God.
Yes.
I feel like in my times of distress, in my times of worry and fear, that God, He's not like man.
Thank God.
He's not going to allow you to fall by the wayside. His word will not return void.
That's right.
Like He keeps His word.
It's so absolute.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that brings me comfort. It's like His word is not gray. You know, it's not, it's just what it is. And I can hold on to His promises. And more than anything, that keeps me going.
For sure. Absolutely. I agree with that.
I want to take a moment and ask you to please, if you could give our studio audience your social media. I want everyone, if you could hit the like button, subscribe and share. Please, if you could hit the like button, subscribe and share, that would mean so much to me. This is our first show. So, Kelsey, if you could give us your social media.
Yes, so my social media, my Instagram is call_me_Kels. Somebody said they follow me. My TikTok is call_me_Kels1, and my Facebook is Kelsey Huntley. And those are all my social medias.
And we're going to get them again before the show is over. Oh, Mari, Orlando, Eli, what's up, Chef? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my. It's so good. Hello, Kelly. Yes, it is. It is a heavy subject to speak about. Yes. Thank God. We give God the glory. We give God the glory for our strength. Hello. Yes, Miss Mary. I am cancer free. I'm so grateful. Just got my results a couple of days ago. So grateful. And every time I hear that I remain in remission, it just gives me the courage to continue fighting, because sometimes I feel afraid. You know, sometimes I feel like I don't want to start something, and then that happens. You know, and I want to tell you all, it's not a lack of faith. It's a trust in God. And I tell you one thing, God allowed me to have cancer. So God can allow me to have it again. And so that is one thing I hold on to, and I know. And so it gives me a right kind of fear when it comes to me and my God. So I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful to be in remission. And I know that I'm in remission because He says so, because it was His will. I just want to say that to you all. Don't think, oh, don't be afraid. That's what they tell me. Don't be afraid. You know, God got you. I'm like, yeah, but that could be His decision. You know, this is for His glory. Everything that's happened, allowing me to even have cancer, it's been honestly to God's glory, because it's a testimony, right? And the doctor said I was not going to live. And so God said yes. He said yes. And so with that, I know that it's His will that I remain cancer free at this time. And that's all I could say is at this time, because there's no guarantee. So I just want to live a life that honors Him, really gives Him honor every single day that I'm still here.
You know what's crazy? And it may be a little heavy, but I shared this story with you. Yeah, cancer. It's a little bit of a trigger word for me. I had a best friend that passed away from cancer. And I just think it's so beautiful to see you here thriving. You're so beautiful. Like, you are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I just love to see somebody that survived that.
Thank you.
And I know you said that God made His decision to keep you here. Yeah. But I believe it was God's decision to take her too. And it was crazy because she had intestinal cancer. And she was only 25 or 6, around there. She was young.
Yes,
she was young. And so to see that firsthand, like I was close upon it, to see it firsthand was a different experience. And sometimes you wish, like, give that pain to me.
Yeah.
You know, like to see somebody in agony and in pain for as many hours as she was, you know. And so moving forward, her transition was hard for me because she was close to me.
Right.
Like, we were like sisters,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Mhm.
And so I always love to see cancer survivors because I know that God picks flowers to take home, but then I know He leaves ones here, and I know you were one that He left here.
Thank you so
I think
much.
that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, survivor's guilt is something that I
Yes.
struggle with on a daily basis, honestly, because of the very things you say. This young lady was so young and she would lose her life, right? And you talk about the pain and the struggle. And it's an unimaginable kind of pain that you can't even talk to someone who can relate. It's hard to, even when I was honored at a cancer survivors seminar in Chicago, they did a big banquet. And, Chef Eli, remember you came to the banquet with me? Okay, so, but even at the banquet, when I talked about my treatment plan and I talked about every time I had chemo, it was for 120 hours. They admit me in the hospital. I'm in a room full of other women who've gone through cancer and no one could relate to me. I'm like, what? 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And so it's a space, like I find myself, I do have PTSD because when I go into the hospital, I just remember what the hospital represents for me, right? So that's very, very rare. People think about just people in the military have PTSD, but that's something that I struggle with. I have that fear of going back in there and just laying in that bed and having them do that for almost 7 days. So it's a real trigger for me, as we say. And I want us to not. These are not bad words, guys. That's not what it is. This is our real life. These are real things that bring us back to a space where we're hurting. Right.
Love that.
One thing I wanted to do, I realized I really like to give you guys one of my original quotes. So every time we come on, I'll give you a quote that will allow you to know more about me and, just what I feel like. So today's is healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. And that's the quote for me today. I just felt like people think you healed. Oh, you forgive them. They acting like it never happened. No, we're not saying it never happened. We're saying I choose me, right? I choose to live. I choose not to be in bondage by the things that were done to me. That's what I choose. And so it will no longer control my life. It will not control my decisions. I will use my words and advocate for myself if something don't feel right.
Absolutely.
That's what we're going to do, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So anybody have any questions? I definitely can understand that I struggle with the fear of going back to the hospital and not knowing what to expect. It's real. I mean, you think you're at the hospital for a very simple visit and it just turns your life upside down. It really does. So that's something that's right. I choose to live and not to die. And I remember going to doctor after doctor after doctor, and they all giving me the same results that you're probably not going to make it. Stage 4. It's called a Ewing sarcoma, and it was housed in my right pelvic wall. So I remember going to God and telling him, hey, you did it for Hezekiah. I need you to do it for me. I choose to live and not to die. And so I don't know what God's plan was for me, but I feel like we had a discussion and we had an understanding that I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't ready. I don't want to leave my babies who are grown children. You know, my children are grown. They're 32 and 27, but they're my babies. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Janine. That's my friend from first grade. We've been friends since elementary school. Hello, Chef. Hello. Yes, I am going to write the book. Actually, I am writing the book. Yes, I am. So I'm hoping that I'm finished by first quarter. And yes, I'm excited. I already have the title. Should I tell y'all? No. Not yet. Not yet. I'm not going to tell you. But this has been just a simply amazing time. you have any questions for me?
Yes. I want to ask you, what would be your goal for maybe 5-10 years down the line? What would be your vision of your life?
Wow. Well, first of all, I believe I'll be happily married.
Oh, girl.
So I'm gonna claim that. I will be.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
I honestly believe that I will have a thriving practice where I get a chance to help other men and women heal. And so that is my goal.
So do you have, you're saying practice as in like
Counseling.
Are you?
Yes.
I did not.
Yeah. So we're actually just starting. Today's going to be our day one of opening up to other people who would like to be on our show, but also who would like to, have coaching or counseling services.
I love that.
And I will tell you that my counseling services will be coaching, because as one who counsels, you're always focused on what transpired, right?
Absolutely.
But I really want people to also think about their future and have their dreams and their goals, and to help work on them moving out of that space of victim to victorious, right? Absolutely. So I really, really want that. And so I'm excited. I see that in my future as in tomorrow.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Any more? Want me to ask another question?
Sure. I'm
okay. Oh, okay. Just personally, I wanted to know this. How did you? Okay, so you build Kyri's Cookies.
Yes.
But how did you get in front of, like? Because I've seen you on the Oprah show and Tamara. Like, how did that come to be? Like, how did you build it? And
it's so big.
How did they even? How did
it's
that
so
happen?
funny. So some people know this story. Basically, it's so God. It's so God. I was in my office at my cookie cafe, and I could hear as clear as day. I could hear, send cookies to Oprah. And it was 3 days before I was to get my scans. So I was in my zone, my little nervous zone, and I simply said, I'll do it when I get back from my scans. Yeah. So I walk out of my office, and before I could cross the threshold, I hear, send cookies to Oprah today. So
that's wild.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I contacted Lauren, so she's one of my employees, and I said, hey, I need you to send these boxes out. And so I shipped them out. And then my daughter and I, Courtney and I were coming out of Emory Midtown, and we're very excited because my scans were clean. And I get into the car, and my phone connects to the car. And I'm like, okay, I get in, and she says, this woman calls, is this Dr. Kyri? I said, yes, this is Dr. Kyri. And she said, hi, this is Ray Ann from Oprah Daily. And I'm like, what? So now I'm acting a fool. I'm like, oh, what? I said, how? What? But how? Because it was not enough time, in my opinion, for the package to get there. And so she said, how did you know to send cookies today? And I said, I don't know where you are spiritually. I said, but God really told me to send them. And she was like, no, I'm really asking because today's a special day. And I'm like, what's going on? And she said, Miss Winfrey is here, and I want to present your cookies to her. Oh. So she said, she was like, I had a Georgia pecan turtle for breakfast. And so I want to submit them, to her. And I said, yes. And then not even a week later, we got notice that we were chosen as Oprah's favorite. Yeah, so that's how that happened. That's how Tamron Hall happened. Good Morning America, all of those good things. So
wow, she's famous, y'all.
So one of the things first of all, I just want to say thank you for showing up today for us and for yourselves. And so I'm very, very grateful. Please remember that healing begins with being heard. I want to go ahead and give you all the number that you can text my team if you're interested in being a part of our show. If you're interested in individual counseling or coaching, please contact us at 678-597-8191. 8191. So please go ahead and contact us 678-597-8191. And so you can text us at that number and we will get back to you. Briefly, one more time, give us your social media.
My social media, Instagram is call_me_Kels. TikTok is call_me_Kels1. And Facebook is Kelsey Huntley.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, Dr. Kyri Listens is part of the Level Up Nation. I want to say next at 3 p.m. we have Level Up. And at 4 p.m., no, not 3 p.m., 5 p.m., we have what is it? Oh, yes, we're going to do Kelly's show. Kelly's show is actually next week. Kelly's first show, it's all about cooking and being healthy and taking care of yourself. And so that will be next week at 5 p.m., November 10th. Also, we have CHH Jams. It takes place, I want to say that's at 7 p.m., but at 9 p.m., we have the Pat Nash Talk Show. So again, thank you for joining us. And please, we'll see you next week, where our guest will be Christina Sanchez. Thank you. Bye.
And let's have a moment of clarity. There's freedom in your transparency. When you speak, you release, that's therapy. It's my decision to listen and do it carefully. Wanna live carefree? Well, it's gonna start. When secrets are kept, families are torn apart. I wanna do my part to help heal your heart. Shed some light on your life when your days are dark. Help ignite a spark that'll bring change. Be your shelter from the rain, assist with the pain. Lonely days are gone and you're not alone. Healing begins with being heard, so this is your song.
All the tears, you are here and listening to my life, to my story, my pain. Yeah, be brave, overcoming the struggles in my life, and I'll be the one to show you the way. You will hear my story. Hearts are all the same. Hearts are all the same. All the same.
$60. Don't.